You want to know something funny? I tried my best to do a reaction to this, a live reaction, a recording, if you will, and it died out. Everything wasn't working. The stream was choppy for the RE showcase being broadcasted from other third-party sources or external sources. Maybe that was my mistake, and I apologize for that, but I tried my best to do a live reaction, and it just kept fucking up. Now we're here. We're doing a breakdown of all the things that we saw with the gameplay. I'm going to pause between events and skip what's not important and try to highlight the most important things of this showcase today. Now, without further delay, without further ado, let's jump right in and let's get this party started. Here Nakanishi saying, well, I never said Leon wasn't going to show up, which is kind of true. But and there are people just having this big sort of skepticism from all of his trolling, where he was saying, "Oh, Leon is a bad match for horror." But I never said he wasn't in the game, and that was me. That was my side of thinking, where it's like, if he didn't explicitly deconfirm Leon being in this game, then that was a shoo-in to have someone like one of the main male faces that was a Raccoon City survivor being in Requiem. It's a no-brainer. It was always a no-brainer. I see why they deconfirmed Chris, but not Leon, and that always was paramount in these interviews. He's laughing about it. Like, seriously didn't say that at all.
まあ実際あの時も話しましたけど、レオンでもうバチバチのホラーの
This is interesting stuff. And now we all know before they showed multiplayer gameplay of RE9, and it wasn't what the fans wanted per their words. We saw the lining on the wall with Reverse, and we saw the lining on the wall with Resistance, where they introduced these multiplayer Resident Evil concepts, and they never really stuck a full landing with the audience of Resident Evil that mostly favors single player horror to begin with. Mercenaries is fun, online portions like that are fun, but they're not offering up Mercenaries. They're not fully remaking or doing another Outbreak style game. They're offering us PvP like Reverse, and that's why that was a huge fucking dud. And now we're seeing this alpha of Resident Evil Requiem with Leon as the sole protagonist going around, and it's all just a little horror setting. He tried to make a genuine horror game with Leon. He still has his Magnum, which we're going to talk about later. And it's all slow paced and it still looks pretty cool, but we thought that people wouldn't want to see a timid Leon quote his words. And I guess, I don't know. Again, we saw Leon in some small, timid moments where he's going through tall oaks and he kind of flinches through the lightning and everything. So he kind of gets a little scared, even though he is a veteran by that point. And the thing with this is that I still think a horror game could work with a veteran character. What you have to do is that you have to incorporate a lot of overwhelming tension, a lot of overwhelming dread, a lot of overwhelming suspense in order to get that done. And maybe that's the form of action horror with what they're doing here, but I still think a slow-paced horror title works for this occasion. But they just did it in the form of like Grace and all her stuff, which is fine. He says it's overwhelming, and there had to be some issues with the direction of this alpha, but it looks nice. I wouldn't mind seeing a game of this caliber, like with maybe a veteran being done, but overwhelming enemies come in and pour in and fuck things up. It's cool, honestly. Now we're gonna skip ahead to this segment, which is him explaining that Grace's parts is gonna be more of a mix of RE2 and RE7, and Leon's segment is gonna be a mixture of Resident Evil 4. Action for Leon, horror for Grace, which we already knew by that point.
ホラーに特化したゲーム体験になってまして、レオンの方はというとバイオ
And now we see more extended Leon gameplay, which looks a little bit more snappier than it did when they previewed and showcased this game at the Game Awards, where they showed us the 8-second teaser of Leon just slicing someone in half with a chainsaw.
方で代用されるような
Melees are back. Roundhouse kicks.
緊張感はすごい高いんですけども、そこまでその
Kicks
強
again.
に特化してない。
But this time, you can smash enemies against walls in the environment, which is cool to see.
まあ、アクシ
Hold on for a second. What is...
ョンでその恐怖に特化してない。
I don't know. Leon's belt just looks weird in this shot. I don't know if it means
そ
anything
こまでその
or if it just stands
恐怖に
out.
特化してない。
But that looks pretty cool. Or maybe it's just a light. It could be. I'm not sure.
まあ、アクションも楽しめるサバイバルホラー。
Because, you know, they had the light belt in Resident Evil 4 OG, if you remember that.
レオンにふさ
Yeah, this is a lot like RE4 and RE5 and RE4 Remake all blended into
わ
one
しいタイトルが作れ
concoction.
てるんじゃないか。
There's the boot to the head, he stomps it off. Melees are looking pretty fucking fire here, alright?
とそのレオンのアクション2つこう並べて
And it's gonna be a 50-50 split where you play as Leon and Grace into one singular campaign. I was having a call about this on Discord, and I believe one of my friends said he prefers, he had my same brain cell, right? He prefers if they had both separate campaigns, or maybe go back and do a Ninja Gaiden 4 style rendition where you play as all the Grace segments with Leon. But then I don't know how that's going to work because that leaves Grace out of the picture. I think it's going to be all just one solo campaign where you switch in and out between characters 50-50. If the pacing is immaculate, I'm totally fine with it. But personally, for me, like I said before, like I said in the past, many times over, I wish it was two separate campaigns. Therefore, I could choose the character I want to play with the most and then move to the secondary character. I believe the freedom of choice is the most important part about horror games with dual protagonists. Like, it's cool to play as Edward Carnaby and the other female character in Alone in the Dark New Nightmare. It's cool to play with Leon and Claire with their own separate campaigns and things going on. I miss that side of RE, and it kind of sucks they don't do that anymore, but let's see how they cook, let's see how they create with this.
遊ぶことで、今までのバイオハザードではないすごく感情の揺れ幅が
Now there's Leon with Requiem. That is the name of his magnum, and it has significant story details behind it. I'm going to assume that someone close to these people are dead, and this is the symbolism behind the magnum, which is why it's called that.
バイオ
So he blasts like 2 zombies in half.
大きいゲームになります。
Shit's still awesome.
バイオハザードって
Double tapped in between. It like went through. It did some penetration there.
緊張と
はあ
のその差っていうのが一つ面白さだと思ってるんですけども、すごく緊張して静かなペースで進むグレースのゲームプレイと、もう発散してダイナミックに激しいアクションをす
And we got stealth elements too for both characters. Leon and Grace can stealth
る、そういうカタルシスなレオン
sneak up, and it shows you your weapon durability when you're about to hit something. So you can kind of see when your axe is about to be at its limit, which I kind of like those finer details being added into the mix of, hey, this could be a life or death stealth situation where I'm stealthing 2 dudes. You can see 2 zombies standing upright on the screen. So how am I gonna take this guy down? How am I gonna take this guy down? I'm taking you out, I'm taking you out, and I'm taking you out to dinner. All right, well,
そういうカタ
not
ル
in a literal sense, but still.
シスなレオン
Boom. I was just talking about that quote from Mortal Kombat 9 with Johnny Cage, but no, don't take the zombie out to dinner. You're gonna get eaten.
大きな意味でその緊張としか
And you see that fucking axe move? That's like a Wesker like sort of pose at the end. I don't know, man. It looks
緊
cool.
張と
Leon clearly loses the coat, which we all expected that, right? We all knew that was coming down the line.
士官っていう役割と
He He just cuts off his fucking head. Is
そ
amazing.
してパートを最適に配置する、こういう意図で構成
Oh no, that zombie. He looked like he was standing straight up though.
してますね。
Oh fuck! It just blew off her head, dude. So you can do finishers with the gun as
構
well.
成してますね。
Put the gun to her mouth and pull the trigger. Boom.
レオンとグレース2人とも主人公なんですけども、ストーリーとしては基本的には一つ。ストーリーの中でプ
Yeah.
レイヤーキャラがグレース
Story is
のパートがあって
unified.
またレオンがプレイするパート
And they both meet up off and on. Hopefully, they have better interactions than RE2 remake with Claire and Leon, where they are very, very, very off and on. They don't even collaborate as much or run into each other as much as they did in the originals. And yeah, I want to see these two like pair up sometimes and see them together.
になってますね。バイオ
I'm
シック
glad they're doing that. This is a post RE6 Leon. Therefore, all the rumors of folks saying, oh, they're not going to reference anything related to RE6. There was like a thread actually on that. Oh, we're not going to talk about anything related to RE6 or whatever. People eating that misinformation up. Yes, it's post RE6. It's peak Leon. That is peak physical and I assume psychological conditioning in this game. And still with the DSO.
の続きですけ
Obviously.
ど、レオンはレクイエムの段階でも DSO のエージェントとして、バイオハザードテロと世界のね戦い続けてるってことになってます。彼はたくさんの悲劇を見てきた。おそらく彼今回
And he'll be pushed to his absolute limit. Everyone saw that Leon has a new infection. I don't know if they're gonna. I was thinking to myself last night. I was telling myself, what if they made a virus like this known to the characters that was incurable until Grace comes into the picture and then she might save him, and then people are speculating in this game the most that they think Leon is going to perish. I don't think Capcom has the balls. I don't. I said this before. I don't think they have the balls to kill a main. It would be ballsy if they did, and I would, if it's done like in a way that makes perfect sense to the story. I don't mind character deaths of related like protagonists or longtime veterans if it's done in a way that services the plots of the game, and I'm fine with it, by the way. Like, you know, there's a lot of ways they can do something of this nature and then pass the torch gradually to a new character if you're gonna do that. Capcom kind of did the opposite before many times over, where they decide to say, let's just have the new character be fodder and let's kill them off instead, even when they're cool. We saw deaths like Pierce Nevins, and I thought to myself, he could have been a perfect new character to champion and push, but you killed him off. So I do think we're getting to the territory where these guys are getting old. You can't fight BOWs forever. Eventually, you have to realize there's either retirement if you get lucky or death. It's only one way or the other. I don't know how they're going to do it. I would imagine the story is going to be dark. It is going to be brooding. It is going to be moments where you do question, will he die? Will he? Probably not. Will he? Maybe, I don't know. But again, I hope they just keep teetering the edge and shows how dangerous, like, really Elpis can be at that point. Show how dangerous this virus could be compared to all the other times where Leon was just infected and he got cured and that's it. Let's have a moment where he might not be able to get cured, and then you play that up for a chapter and you play that up with his face getting increasingly bad. Maybe something starts happening with a limb and maybe he loses it or something just drastic. I think we need a drastic action to occur to say, oh shit, this shit is fucking serious. Oh, they better not. People gonna say they better not kill Leon. I need something to go into for the next like 45 years. So I just I think that's gonna be funny.
その辺も注目してほしいなと思います。
I don't mind it though. I don't mind death. I'm a person that even thinks Joel's death made sense to service the story, because all of that action, all of that killing of people in The Last of Us Part 1 was going to catch up eventually.
今回のゾンビは生前のその人の 復調っていうのを引き継いでいるゾンビ。
Zombies doing this behavior of remedial things, it kind of reminds me of the Evil Within a little bit with the Haunted and the Lost. Just doing random tasks, trying to feed their children still, even after they're super all fucked up within the memory of STEM. And the butcher still doing stuff, cutting people in half like it's just completely normal.
がいます。
That's what I like about this the most. Next.
例えばこの館の中で掃除係の人がいるんですけども、その人はゾンビになってもひたすらこう屋敷を
Custodian still cleaning. It feels like the zombies are stuck to their previous lives, which brings some cool like sort of moments that you can see visually in the background, which is what they're aiming for here. I like this a lot.
きれいにしようとね、
Smashing her head, being all fucking crazy, it's cool.
それで出るんですよ。このようにいろんなこう生前の行動に執着するゾンビがいて、ゲームでは彼らの行動を観察して、うまくかわすのに利用したり倒すのに使うと、こういったことができるようになってます。
I am hoping to God I can use furniture to like knock things around. Already we saw some things with the environmentals being implemented in the QTEs. And I noticed something here at this part.
I think I want a second opinion.
レオンのゲームプレイ
It seems there is a dodge, right? Because
Second opinion.
that goes from gameplay, that goes from cutscene to gameplay, and
の
then
ゲーム
Chainsaw Zombie is going absolutely buck wild, and then Leon just backs back really quickly. That's a dodge to me. Nice to see that.
圧倒的な緊張感のある戦闘、 RE4 から進化したサバイバルアクションになってます。
The evolution of action from RE4.
アクションになってます。
They run up, and he's finished.
トマホークという斧を装備しており、それによるパリが
And we know that was from Remake 4, where you could have a knife. You could just Leon could fucking parry a chainsaw with a knife already. That was crazy enough. Now he can do it while he has Elpis with a hatchet, not give a fuck, sharpen the hatchet, and then immediately kill the zombie right there.
シューティングっていうのが
So it's so much going on in various ways. Oh my god, that character model is like what's going on with his lips?
シューティングっていうのが中心になってくるので、さらに 洗練
I don't know what happened there other than he hit him with a finisher
シューティングっていうのが中心になってく
and got behind him.
るので、さら
Like what the
に
fuck?
洗練された
That's crazy.
ガンプレイっていうところにも力
Oh man, I love
シューティ
it
ング
though.
っていうのが中心になってくるので、さらに洗練されたガンプレイっていうところにも力を入れてますね。また V を狙って、
You can target specific parts. So once again, telling us what we already knew with the pinpoint systems in play with hitting the bodies. You hit the feet or the leg or the kneecap or the hand. Maybe if they're holding something, they'll drop the item if you shoot them in the hand. I always like that stuff when they introduce that for RE4, so it's no different here.
体術を決める。それから敵が持っていた武器を奪って利用する。
Nice. And then he cuts him in half with the chainsaw. And we really can't tell if that's like one use. I personally would not be surprised if it was.
どの敵をどの部位を撃つのか、またどうやって倒すのか、こういった戦
you can kick them up against a wall, combo them, and then take the hatchet and kill them immediately in one swift move.
こう立てるのが面白さであり、
Which is
それが
cool.
特に
Adds
さらに
a
こう
lot more. Bringing the defensive items with Leon back. If you have the axe and you get bit, you can use the axe to get yourself out of a jam. We saw similar nature with Grace, where the zombie was biting her arm, but she did not have any defensive items, and she took the bite in Nakanishi's Instagram gameplay, where he was shooting like he was shooting ducks in the water. I don't know what was with that man's aim, but still, that was fascinating that defensive items was coming back, and it was a no-brainer that Leon was going to get his
が倍増する
axe to the neck.
ブレーンな
Now, this is very interesting. You could do a quick draw, which I don't think you could do. Well, they kind of had this thing where you can do these moves in RE6 where you shoot the gun real quick and it's a stamina drain, but that is
さらにこう語
definitely
そう
a quick draw.
いったゲームプレーになって
Pull the gun out real quick, boom. Oh my god, he just, you know that move on the Punisher where he just like on the Punisher PS2 where he puts the guy on the ground and he curve stomps him? That is exactly what Leon has done to the zombie, dude.
グレースのゲームプレイは閉鎖空間の中を、投資弾薬脅威となる敵その中をもう恐る恐る考えながら動くっていうような面白さだと思ってるんですけどもグレース
Oh,
敵を
I don't know if it looks like a zombie was getting dome in the background, but still, what the fuck? What the fuck? All right. I just wanted to show the inventory real quick. This is the alligator snapper, the standard handgun, that's Requiem, that's the axe. The whole inventory here itself is 100% reminiscent of Resident Evil Village, where it's all laid out just like this in this format, in this fashion. There is a currency system right at the top right. You see it says 0 here. Now, I don't know if that's going to be enough speculation to say there's going to be a merchant in this game that will appear from nowhere, or maybe each time you start off with Leon, he has some sort of OPSAT where he's talking to Hunnigan, maybe Shuri if she's in this game, of course, and they start talking and you get your weapons cache and upgrades from there while talking to them at the beginning of each chapter. Or maybe it's going to be more on the fly because there's still a lot more options we don't probably know about with this game. And then there was another thing that I think was captured where Grace can make this hemolytic injector, and she can use this special drug that destroys infected blood cells and it prevents corpses from mutating. There's mutation back in this game. Thinking to myself, oh shit, Crimson Heads are gonna probably come back, or maybe some variant, but it says it stops corpses from mutating, which means you have to have this element of being careful once downing an enemy and playing her segments, because they could rise back up from the dead and be more stronger, and then it could take enemies out if you're behind them, which you're gonna see later in this footage.
だと思ってるんですけどもグレースでは敵を倒すべきか
Should I take the enemy out or run away? More fight or
重
flight.
要になってきてますなので、レクイエムではそのためのさまざまな手段を用意していますそれほど重火器いっぱい出てくるわけではないんですけども一つこう象徴的な武器として
There it is, Requiem.
そのままタイトルを
I can't really tell you what I think is going to be the story context of this gun, other than it may be tied to, well, obviously it's going to be tied to Leon in some form. He has it tied to Alyssa in some fashion, and tied to the supposed secret, because they bring something up at the end where Leon is in on this weird secret and something happened between him and the incident with Alyssa, and he probably knows about it to a larger extent, but we have to wait and play the game and see. And I think this is what this game represents as sort of a symbolism of all these people that are suffering, and that have died from their knowledge of the Raccoon City incident.
名を冠した武器が出てきます。この
It's like fighting back against the darkness. Into the darkness. That's the new song, by the way.
大口径の武器は弾数ほどないんですけど、ここぞという時に
There's also red bullets you can load into this thing, and we are not sure if they are explosive rounds quite yet.
グレースを救ってくれる頼りになる武器になってます。実はクラフト要素も少しひねりを入れてまして、そのアンポルを作るためには
I like this idea of how they have the crafting, and we saw in the previous segment back then that the axe can be like sharply tuned with 2 buttons in real time versus going into a menu, making some bits and bobs, crafting maybe a bottle, a rag, and some pieces and putting it together. This makes it feel snappy and quicker and responsive, which I think that's the best way to go about it.
安心したゾンビの血が必要になります。クラフトのリソースになる
There's the infected blood.
血っていうのを、つまり敵を倒すのにもまた意味があると、そういう意味でより RS スタイルのゲームを深めるような工夫っていうのは各所に入れてますね。
That's a makeshift knife. Okay, I saw that there as well. Stab one and they just explode like a piñata.
That's too effective.
A variety of gameplay options have also been added to this title. Players can switch between 2 camera perspectives.
There you go. For people that were also saying, oh man, I don't know how they're gonna do Leon's section in first person. Maybe that's going to be a little bit disorienting. The way I see it is that when you do melees or you take damage, it goes into third person while in first person, but it still plays like a relative action game for Leon's segment. We saw action in RE for Village in first person. It was doable. It was always doable, but them doing the dual camera perspectives where you can switch to the fly whenever you want, whether you like first person or third, that was the most ideal option, because there are people that I've heard from in the comments at times saying, I don't like playing Resident Evil in first person, or I don't like playing Resident Evil in third person. I like first person a little bit more. I was introduced into RE7. There are people like that. Resident Evil has this large paradigm now where there are so many people split and divided, and there's still people that want fixed camera back. All right. I don't think we're ever getting all 3, but this is the best compromise.
And these can be changed at any time during the game.
Nice,
Multiple
nicely done.
difficulties are also available. New players can enjoy.
We're definitely getting a hardcore mode, and they're gonna say something equivalent to the effect of there's casual, where you can just enjoy the story and it's more like assisted.
Casual mode, and use aim assist to take down
Yep,
zombies
that as I expected, aim
with
assist.
more ease. But if you
And then there's standard, classic, a traditional experience with a difficulty similar to classic Resident Evil games, recommended for long-term fans of the series. Autosaves during Grace's gameplay are limited, and ink ribbons are required to save. I'm wondering to myself, how is that also going to migrate over when you play as Leon? Are they going to do any tweaks to the classic mode for Leon segment when you pick him? For Graces, it makes sense to have these limited ink ribbons and saves, kind of similar to what they did with the higher difficulties of Resident Evil 2 Remake, where you had limited saves, you didn't have checkpoints, all of that disabled, which I like.
choose Standard Classic, ink ribbons will be needed to save the game when playing as Grace. This mode is recommended for those who enjoy a tense atmosphere.
All right, let's see what else they got.
今回、
At this point, they do a collaboration between Porsche, and they have these expensive ass watches for $1,000 and $2,000. God damn. God damn. So we're gonna skip all that because that's a lot for a watch. My God. But you can clearly see the black one for Hamilton. That's Leon. That's the $2,000 one. They want you to pony up for that. And then the golden one is the one that Grace wears. You're interested and you got that money for that collector's dosh, you can go ahead and have that. The only part I think I want to show from this section is they showed the costumes in game, which looks great. Honestly. Noir Leon looks exactly like Infinite Darkness Leon, and Grace has her, you know, contemporary Lady D outfit.
Leon. Weapon skins.
Weapon skins and all the screen filters. We saw this in the bonus deluxe. Grace having her inspired Alice costume, Apocalypse. It's kind of cool to look at on this character.
Along.
And it's going to be on GeForce as well, which is now I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room at the end of this. I really am.
Launch.
Server.
There is an elephant to this conference. And here's the figures for the people that wanted to know, and they're doing 2 of them, which I thought they were just going to do 1. It's just going to be 2 of them, which is Leon and Grace, and you can attach these figures together. They look dope though.
Can be displayed separately or together as a set.
They look dope. And here's all the other ones. Yeah, fucking Jill. You got RE2 Leon, RE4 Chris from Village. It's just a nice old time, man.
If you line them up with previous figures,
I know people are gonna be flaunting these off like crazy, bro.
Both figures are scheduled for release this fall.
All right, this we'll all skip because that's information that we know. And then they talk about what is Elpis. This is the short segment.
これもねまだお伝えしてるんですけど、
This is something we haven't revealed yet.
実はレオンにはある秘密が
But Leon bears a secret in this game.
そことも関わっ
That secret related to
てくる様子だっ
Elpis
たり、グレースの
comes into play regarding the
実
murder
際殺された
of Alessa
そこにも関わ
Ashcroft.
る非常に重要なものになっているので、まあこの辺のねその
That is fascinating. Yeah. I think he just knows something that we don't know, or maybe I want the wild theory to come true that the Raccoon City survivors are infected with Elpis. They have it, and they know that it has been incurable for quite some time to them. And now they're starting to find out about Grace and find out, hey, maybe she has potent daylight or something in her blood to set Elpis free. We talked about this before on the podcast where we made theories and speculations. What Elpis is, you know, something at the bottom of Pandora's box to be set free, and Grace is the key. Could it lead to doomsday or people getting cured? Because Victor Gideon also is not in the best shape. His teeth is falling out. He has a grill. Okay, like he's Flavor Flav. All right. I'm sorry. That's so fucking funny. Flavor Flav. This old man with a grill. What the hell is going on?
これもねまだお伝えしてるんですけど、実はレオンにはある
Let's
秘
go
密があっ
back.
て、そことも関わっ
And you see the hands.
て、そこ
This stuff they had to have known about for quite some time. Look at Leon's neck. And I would imagine this supposed incurable infection is affecting all these survivors. I think the cool thing is, what if they decided to inject some things into these characters or somehow infect them without their knowing it? And maybe it could be a big government conspiracy as to, oh, I think Leon knows too much. but we can't assassinate him within the government. How do we get rid of him? We don't want the secret to Raccoon City to get out. He was supposedly going to collude with Adam Benford and said he trusted him to tell the secrets of Raccoon City to the world. Maybe the family still wants Leon to be, taken out in some way. Maybe they have these ties into the government, and obviously they want to get rid of them or get rid of some of these people that know all this shit. I would imagine it's going to probably come to a head there, or at least be thought about, and I want to see how this all goes down. Like, my speculation, but yeah, the government is dirty. After all, they bombed somebody's family. They bombed Glenn Arias on his wedding day,
ことも関わってくる要素
which is crazy. And Leon was against
お
it.
母さんアリスが殺された、そこにも関わる非常に重要なものになっているので、こ
For
の
the
辺の
sake
ね
of
その
Elvis.
謎をプレイして
And
ぜひ
Grace is the key. His arms right here, dude. He's crazy varicose veins.
解き明かしていってもらえればなと思います。
He's not in good shape.
バイオハザードレクイエム、まだまだ言いたいこと本当に
Oh, and that's the end of the conference.
I liberated.
Why did you kidnap me?
Kidnap you. I liberated you.
Why ain't she busting like 80 caps in this motherfucker?
I think I want a second opinion.
Fuck yes.
What is happening here?
Oh, there's the butcher.
Keep our friends busy.
Dude, what is this giant mutated baby, bro? What is that? It looks like they wanted to do a segment similar to Village, but it's on steroids.
Keep our friends busy.
This looks good, and there's still more to tell. What do I think about the fact that there is no demo drop at all? No demo. It's kind of disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. I want to play some vertical slice of this game. They have not said anything about a demo. I think they made one statement so far, and it rang true, and that was the fact that we are going to, and I'm sorry if my dog's going crazy in the background, I apologize for that. I'm trying to keep on task, but they said we are going to focus on trying to make this the best game as possible. We don't have time for a vertical slice. That's the excuse. Now, I guess that could still hold up at launch if this game is still pretty relatively great and it's all polished for all platforms. I guess if they decide to do all that, then it's perfectly fine. So I have no problem with that. As long as this is an A-tier style game, then I'm fine with no demo. But it's just you're showing me action. You're showing me nice meaty action that I want in my hands to play and experience and beat people to death with a chainsaw. Therefore, I'm gonna want that, just like every other RE fan who wants action to be fucking at the fucking mercy of their own homes just playing this demo right now. So it sucks, but hey man, we just gotta wait a little bit further and see what they do next. But that was my breakdown and assessment of the Resident Evil Showcase for January 15th with all the pertinent information that was cool. You know, I did skip some of the collab stuff and information they already showed. They also didn't show anything about future Resident Evil projects, and I don't think we're getting information until like after this game is well launched and it's in our hands, and maybe they'll tease, hey, there's going to be a remake around the corner. The 30th anniversary is not over quite yet. There's still some time to go. I'm also upset. Like, if you ask me on any other day, would I want a demo and a new peek into the future of Resident Evil? I would say yes. I would want a demo of RE9 and a peek into the future, but we just gotta wait, man. Games take time to develop for, and they have certain design principles, and they have wrapped this game up in so many spoilers that I wouldn't be surprised if latter halves of the game are just so fucking spoiler fuel. They want to protect all that. I don't know, dude. I don't know because we haven't seen a lick of the Raccoon City segment whatsoever. But I wish they did a small piece of the game for us to play. But this is the first RE in the longest time with no demo. So disappointing, but I'm still looking forward to this release. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time. Later.